Greetings, Duelists, and welcome to another video. So, we're going to talk about Dracotail again. The Tearlament engine video that I did a few weeks ago got really well received. It is my most watched video like in a while, and I want to thank each and every one of you who are tuning in and just taking time out of your day to just listen to what I yap about with this deck in the background. I really like Dracotail. I really do think the deck is not solved 100% yet. I also think this deck has a lot of avenues for splashing whatever you want in it. More than like the other decks like Yummy and Canine. So what I did with the Tearlament video is I talked about how that engine was really good in Dracotail, and whether or not it's worth being played in the deck. I kind of want to do the same thing for Shaddolls, because the Shaddoll engine has been a debate amongst Dracotail players for a while now, and some people do play the Shaddoll engine, but they are not playing it at the ratios that I'm playing at. They're playing like way lesser copies. Some people just play Shaddoll Beast, which I do understand why, but I kind of don't like that. And I kind of want to go over why I play the Shaddoll engine at the numbers that I do. Spoiler alerts, on my next deck report, you're going to see that I am playing 3 Squamata now. My last deck report only played 1. But yeah, I'm not playing the normal Shaddoll suite. Like, some people are just playing Winda. They're not playing any other Shaddolls. People don't play Schism. Some people do side the Shaddoll Fusion, and they side the Grista with the Shaddoll Fusion. I kind of want to show you guys why I played this deck, or why did I play this engine to begin with. So the first thing I'm going to bring up is I had the Shaddoll engine in my mind for a while. It was before Justice Hunters. This is one example board that I'm looking at. I talked about this with a few friends of mine a couple of months back, and I brought up to them how Shaddoll Fusion can just deal with the Raizio Mitsurugi board. But the issue with the Shaddoll Fusion and playing Shaddolls in my deck is there was no real deck or strategy that I found myself with comfortable playing alongside the Shaddoll cards. I thought about White Forest, I thought about Regenesis, I thought about like Memento, I thought about like other fusion strategies, but nothing really came into mind for me before Dracotail on how would I play the Shaddoll cards, because I didn't want to play Shaddoll as its own deck. Shaddoll as its own deck has sadly been power crept. Shaddolls alongside Tearlaments has also been power crept. I think Shaddoll Tearlaments as a foundation was really strong back in 2023, but not anymore. So I'm gonna show you what just one Shaddoll Fusion can do against this end board. Okay, so we used the Shaddoll Fusion sending Genius and Dragon to summon the Abtalon. I am not playing Genius on my current list now with the Dracotail cards, but it is something I considered last format. And yes, we will talk about Gem Knight in a moment, because I haven't forgotten. So this Shaddoll Fusion already threatens this entire board. Like, the Abtalon is going to target the Murakumo if by some random reason the opponent has not done Murakumo effect yet. or you can Apkalone and negate the Raziel Cross. And the negate from Apkalone is a permanent negate, for those who don't know. The Shaddoll Dragon can just deal with their back row, so if they have prayers or like impermanence or like stuff like that, you just bait those cards with the Shaddoll Dragon. And the Shaddoll Genius is going to freeze this detonator. Now, this is a really strong chain block, and your opponent actually has to deal with all of this. If they choose to Raziel Cross to negate the Apkalone, that's perfectly fine. The Apkalone already did its job. And like, you no longer have to worry about this Raziel Cross for the rest of like this turn. If Murakumo comes back for some reason and they pop the Apkalone will trigger, and I'll show you that in a moment. If they choose to Raziel Detonator to pop the Apkalone, same thing. This will just get you back cards, and like this Apkalone already did its job. If they choose to negate the Apkalone with the impermanence or something like that, well, congratulations. Like, you already, like, you baited the impermanence. That's like part of the deal. Like, that's one of the things you wanted to do. Like, you just baited a lot of cards, and that was only one Shaddoll fusion. Let's say they actually got rid of the Apkalone, right? Well, the Apkalone is going to send any of these or add you this. And this Shaddoll Schism, like, if you by somehow just get rid of Detonator, this Shaddoll Schism will go hard on their turn. This will summon Winda and just get rid of their Murakumo or get rid of their Mitsurugi outright, and all of a sudden you're in a very commanding position. Shaddoll Aerial can just banish cards from their graveyard. If you time this like in a really good way, you can make it so you can contest against the Eclipse Twins. You also make it very awkward for the Raziel Cross, because Raziel Cross has to return from graveyard. If they play plug-in, then that is a different story. But yeah, like, I had Shaddoll Fusion in my mind for a long time, like back in April. So this is Malice. Malice is going to be a little bit trickier because they do have cards like Code Talker and Dominus Impulse that can negate the Shaddoll Fusion. But this is one good thing about Shaddoll Fusion. This is going to bait those really strong cards that would have been used against like your other engine cards. Like, if you know your opponent is on Dominus Impulse and you want to check whether or not your opponent has it, Shaddoll Fusion is the best card that can do that, because Shaddoll Fusion is one activation per turn, not one effect per turn. So if they want to stop this Shaddoll Fusion entirely, they need to Dominus Impulse. Like, there's no debate. Like, this Dominus Impulse will have to contest against the Shaddoll Fusion. And let's say they didn't have the Dominus Impulse and they didn't choose to Code Talker negate. Well, it's almost the same thing as last time. You got the Apkalone, and you got the Shaddoll Dragon, and you got the Shaddoll Genius. This is going to blanket negate something, and then you have these cards to just get rid of like other cards. The Shaddoll Dragon is going to pinpoint the Malice traps, because you already know where the Malice traps are going to be set, and whichever Malice trap you just want to get rid of immediately, or you just don't want to deal with the rest of your engine, you just go ahead and pick apart that one. You can pick apart the GWC or the MTP07, whichever see fits. If your opponent is a Firewall Dragon, you can hard negate that with the Apkalone, and that just forces the Firewall Dragon. If they didn't resolve Code Talker for some reason, you can just hard negate that as well. And you can do it with either Apkalone or Shaddoll Genius. But yeah, like, this is pretty much like the situation with Malice. There are other cards that you can send if you are worried about the card advantage or the card economy. Shaddolls Beast and Shadow Wendy can replace themselves as well. So those are just a few examples. Now, let's say you're in the opposite end, right? And you have the Shadow Schism set up, and you're facing against Raizio Mitsurugi. This Raizio Mitsurugi hand cannot deal with Schism for Winna. If you try to have a Kiri, you're going to chain this. They're going to chain Schism. Schism is going to summon Winda, and all of a sudden you're locked out of special summons. If you X Raizio to send Valon, like same thing. The Valon is going to bait the Schism, and you just flip the Schism, and Schism will summon the Winda. You can even summon Construct and send the X Raizio if you want. That's one other thing you can do. And with the Construct, you can send Aerial, and you can use Aerial to just banish the X Raizio, and you just put your opponent in a very awkward position if they have Sword Raizio. So that's one other example you can do. You can even make Krista, and Krista is really strong against like Prayers, against Habakiri, against like the Mitsurugi Ritual spell. So you have in-engine ways of just dealing with the Mitsurugi cards or like other cards in general. Malice, pretty much the same thing. Like if you look at this Malice hand, how are they dealing with the Schism? Like the moment they commit to the board, like you're flipping the Schism immediately. There is the mind game where your normal summon has to force the Schism, otherwise they're going to make Lingeribo in order to negate this. But outside of those short nuances, like you can just flip Schism at any point. Let's say your opponent is going Splash Mage to bring back a Malice. You can Shadow Schism and Chain, and like all of a sudden, you pretty much pin them down, and they can no longer imprint because they control Splash Mage. That's just like one example. Now going back here, I really do like the Shaddoll cards, and finally we have a home for them. And what's really cool is it's not just the Dracotail cards that really help Shaddoll. Like when I built this Dracotail deck, I built it with the emphasis that I could play the tech cards that I wanted to play in Shaddolls in a long time. Blazing Cartesia is a staple now in the Dracotail deck, but this card was already a staple in Tearlament and in Shaddoll, like already, like for a long time. Rescue Ace Impulse is another really cool card that I also wanted to play like in a Shaddoll deck, and alongside the Fire Attacker. And before the existence of Dracotail, this engine was kind of weird to be played in the other decks. Like the Tearlament cards also really work very well with Shaddolls, just like making Winda with this on the spot, or like this making Draco's Tapelia and recycling back your Winda, or this making Mud Dragon and recycling back your Winda is also really strong. This making the Mud Dragon to give Winda targeting protection is really strong. This making Apkalone alongside the Winda is really strong. The tier monsters can even make Greguino because of King of the Swamp, which we already saw in my last deck report. And this is a toolbox for Shaddoll cards. Like this, sending the Apkalone gets you access to like Shaddoll Fusion or Shaddoll Schism. Like Shaddolls as a toolbox engine is really not bad this format. You already saw the power of the Shaddoll cards against Malice and Mitsurugi Raizio. Against Yumi, this engine is really strong. Against the Dracotail mirror match, this engine is also really strong. K9 is like the very iffy one, especially because of Ripper. But if you were seeing my deck reports and you saw like my first time showcasing this deck, you already know that you have ways to deal with Ripper. Abkalom being like one of the main ones. So yeah, like I really do think Shaddolls have a home in Dracotail, and I actually do encourage you guys, if you are a fan of Shaddolls as much as I am, you should try to play this engine with more cards instead of just playing the very minimalistic ratio. I really like 3 Squamatas. The reason I like Squamata at 3, and I'll talk more over it in my next deck report, is Squamata is any Shaddoll you want. So all those builds that are playing triple Shaddoll Beast, or they're playing like one of each Shaddoll, like one Beast, one Hedgehog, like Squamata is just any Shaddoll you want, and it's also deck thinning. So think about that when you're constructing like your Dracotail deck with your Shaddoll cards. Alright, that's enough yapping from me. I hope you found this informative to your liking and understanding. Deck report coming soon. Keep practicing and keep dueling.